We are here today with Captain Wendy to answer some questions about what is life like at sea. So Wendy, please introduce yourself to us and tell us a little bit about you.
So my name is Wendy Umla, and I'm a licensed USCG, U.S. Coast Guard captain with the 1,600/3,000 ton license. I have equivalencies in 2 other countries, which may or may not mean anything to you, but it's a pretty big license. I've been in the yachting industry for over 20 years. I grew up on the water with my family boating, and love the yachting industry and try to always perpetuate it going forward. I feel it's really important for everyone on the boat to work as a team and to continue on this industry, which I do love.
Thank you for taking the time. So let's get to the first question that everyone wants to know. What personality qualities do you think are important when you are thinking about going into the yachting industry?
So it is a service industry, so that's a really, really important factor. So if there's any type of service background, hospitality that you've done, it could even be just, working a counter at an ice cream stand. If you like working with people, that's where it's going to really, really, you'll excel. Self-entertaining helps a lot as well, meaning you have good, clean hobbies like reading or running or things like that. Industries that do very well are wait staff, flight attendants, nail technicians, hair cutters, anything where you're helping and doing for others.
So tell us, what is the best thing about working on a yacht?
For me, it's travel, and that's why a lot of people get into the industry to travel. You may see places that nobody else sees. You may just stay local and be on a local based boat, but you're doing what you love because you're always on the water. I love being on the water. It's often been said that I had salt water running through my veins, not for the cold icy part, but for the just the love of the ocean. I have been to places that are only accessible by boat, so it's been a really fascinating experience in life that I've had on the water.
So then let's go into what's the most challenging.
Living, breathing, and working in the same space with the same people. So you may be on a boat with 3 crew, you may be on a boat with 30 crew, and those are the same people that you're going to be seeing all the time. That is a little bit of a challenge because you typically don't have your own cabin, so you're sharing even your evening space with somebody else, but you're not in your cabin that much. When you're in your house, how often are you actually in your bedroom per se? So I would say that is definitely the most challenging for a lot of people because there are many different nationalities. There are many people that have different traditions and customs than we're used to, than we're accustomed to. And it's just, to me, I look at that as I love learning more about other people. Some people don't see it that way. They're like, well, that makes no sense. But that's how they do it in their country, so it makes sense to them.
What are the typical contract lengths? I know that probably varies depending on the type of, whether it's a charter or private yacht. Is there a good kind of indication of how long to expect, to have a contract for?
That's a good question. So it may vary slightly for a charter and private. It's really not so much about the charter and private. It's about, are you meant to be permanent crew or freelance or temporary crew? So a freelance crew member might be hired for a specific trip, which might be 2 weeks or 10 days or a month. They might be hired as a day worker to just come on daily. They're typically hired at a daily rate, and that's not always going to have a contract. A contract is more for permanent crew. According to the manning requirements, they need to have a contract or should have a contract. So typically you would look at a year. When I hire permanent crew, I have a year contract with a initial 90-day out on either side.
So on that topic then, what in somebody's resume stands out the most to you?
Is again that hospitality industry and that having the interaction with people and knowing how to deal with them, handling the responsibilities. If you are a restaurant manager or if you were even a cashier, you're handling money, and that's showing a responsible nature and a maturity that we look for. Again, the ability to get along with other people, longevity for sure. Longevity in yachting is different than longevity in the real world, because we do have the 1-year contract type of a situation. And that's not to say that there aren't people that are on boats for 3 to 5 or 7 years. But on land-based coming over to the yachting industry, we do look for more of a lack of job hopping.
Now, and then what about the training? How does that weigh in? Is that heavily based on, or is it more, so you have service experience in the restaurant industry, for example, but your training may not be as high as far as taking the yachting courses. So how does that weigh out with each other?
The training that you'll get on land is never going to be the level of the training you get for yachting. We raise the bar a lot from the real world. We are dealing with the 1 or 2 percenters. We're dealing with the people that know better. They know that it's proper to put a plate down on the left side of your guest and pick it up on the right side. That's what we teach in the classes. That's what is important for the crew members to learn, is what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. There have been owners that come in and they don't know, and it's not uncommon for the crew, the stewards and stewardesses, to actually teach them. So they learn from us. It's done at 5-star restaurants and resorts and facilities, and that is the level that's taught for yacht crew.
So as far as an interior stew, if you're green to the industry and you're coming in, what is expected of you on board as far as your duties, your primary duties as an entrance level yachty in interior?
Yep. So that's going to depend a bit on the size of the crew. The larger the crew, the more specific your role will be. On the very large yachts, there are specific laundry girls. All they do is laundry. On smaller boats, the responsibilities will be much more broad. And it's really the ability to take direction. And for me, one of the more important things is the ability to ask when you're not sure. I would rather show somebody the right way to do something twice than have to continuously go back and correct what they haven't done right. If they're taught how to do something, do whatever you need to make sure that you can replicate that. Take notes. We all have little notebooks that we keep with us, that type of thing. Take pictures with your phone. That's a big one. That's made life so much easier. Because the other thing is the ability to learn from your crew members. As a captain coming on, I have learned something from every crew member, be it interior or exterior, who's come on my boat. I don't care if they have 1 month experience or 10 years experience. I've learned something from all of them because they're learning from other people, and their little pod and pool becomes broader, and then I learn from them. So we learn a lot of tips and tricks, and the tips and tricks are what makes it easier to do our job better.
I was going to say, same thing for deckhands. Obviously, there's a lot of similarities there, Wendy, as well. More thinking for entry-level deckhands, expectations, and again, how they progress as well from making perhaps that transition from a junior deckhand to the more senior roles, and even supporting the captain on the bridge or wheelhouse eventually.
Yeah, for the deck crew, it's really important. Anything that you can learn on your own and bring to the boat will be a help. Definitely learn basic knots, knot keeping. Bowline is a standard one. And
behind your back, right?
Behind your back, exactly. I'm a little famous for that one. And you know, it's funny because the reason that I try to keep that in the forefront of teaching somebody is when you're in the med, you're being thrown a line and you have to, if you're on the quay, on the land side, and you have to tie a line that's just been thrown to you to a cleat or something that's on the dock, you have to do it backwards. So it's not just knowing how to do it, looking at it, it's just your hands just take on the same way when we do drills. It's just the repetition of doing it. So for deckhands, yeah, certainly learn some knots, the tips and tricks of you know, even woodworking, cabinetry, engineering, painting. Any of that can be beneficial to a deck who's coming into the industry. Safety, especially, because you might get a little bit of, I don't need to harness in to wash down the side of the boat. Yes, you do. Oh, I'm not going to fall. Yes, you can. So it's, don't be, it's really important to not have an arrogance and to be understanding and mindful of, you know, if you do something that's bad, you get hurt, now you're out of commission, you've got to go home, we've got to get somebody in for you. Not that we don't care about you, really, we do, but it's a whole trickle down effect. So
Yeah.
The position requires safety. The position interior requires safety. The position on deck requires safety. And it can be a lot of fun. I mean, you're expanding your repertoire of things that you can use in the real world.
You start out at the entry level and you want to make a full career out of it. What does it take to move up in the ranks, and how long does it take-ish? I mean, I know you can't give me exact depending on the person, but just like a roundabout.
Nothing. It really varies. It's going to vary on the individual, on their ability to learn, on their ability to adapt, because you may learn how to do something on one boat and then you go to another boat, and for example, the first officer might say, well, you're not doing it right. You need to do it this way. It's his deck. However he wants it done is the right way on his boat that he's running, or however the captain wants it done. It was once said, the captain who knows the right way to varnish is the captain whose boat you're varnishing. Because every captain will tell you there's only one way to varnish. And 50 different ways later, you've learned that on their boat, that's how you varnish. When it's your boat, you do it however you want, or if nobody cares, then you do it however you want. But it's in terms of the moving up, it also is going to be the other variable on that is the size of the boat, because the size of the boat will determine the number of crew. The number of crew will determine, in essence, the breadth of your knowledge and your responsibilities. So again, if you have 30 crew, your responsibilities will be very narrow, such as they would be on a cruise ship. If you are on a crew where there's 5, your responsibilities are going to be much, much more broad, and you'll learn a lot more. That going into the next boat, you will then have an ability to move up if the position allows. So with regards to wages, you know, a starting salary is going to be somewhere around the $2,500 a month range. We typically deal with discussions of salary in terms of a month at a time, unless you're a temporary freelance, and then it would be a day rate. So with a monthly rate, you can expect to be $2,500 a month would be realistic. Because you have no experience coming in, they might try to have it a little bit lower. My suggestion on that is always do a 90-day, and at the 90-day, ask for a review and to be bumped up. In terms of discussing the actual numbers, you have to look at the fact that you have no room and board to pay. Your rooms are being provided. Typically, you're having a chef cooking for you who is a 3 to 5 star chef, providing usually 2 meals a day during work days. So you don't have a lot of expenses. You should also be looking at insurance that hopefully will be offered to you. Vacation time, et cetera, et cetera. And those are all negotiating points that you would probably be told about when you are stepping into the interview or when you're having that discussion. If it's moved to that point and that stage in the interview, then those points will come up. So yeah, you will get holiday time, and that doesn't mean you get Christmas off and Boxing Day. We don't. We work during those days. That is when people want to use their boats, is during holidays and celebratory times in the summertime. So plan on not spending your Christmas with your family, because you're going to be spending it on a yacht. Maybe in the Caribbean. You take that. I don't know.
So,
Not so bad.
I think the West.
Depending on how well you get along with your families, right?
Right. Say, is it really like the other show on TV?
We're not going to mention
I'm
that.
trying really hard not to mention it, but everyone
there's,
does know.
there's a pink elephant in the room, and I will say it is as good as that. And that's my final answer.
Do you have anything else you would like to add that you think is really important for anyone that's interested in starting a career at sea, that they should be aware of, that they should know? Any words of advice?
Yeah, I would just have to say, there's so much to gain from it, and it can be such a fun time. It can be challenging. I mean, again, you are living and working and breathing in the same space with people that you're going to go play with and that you're going to be working with. The hours are long. You will work hard, especially if you're on a charter boat. But you are working on a gorgeous boat, hopefully, and you're on water, which to me, that's it right there. Like, that would be the end of discussion. You may or may not have the ability to travel. You're going to just be expanding your own experiences, and that's what I love about it. It's a tremendous industry. It has a lot to offer, and if you choose to make a career out of it, you will make sacrifices, but to me, it's worth it.